My name is Joanna Miller. I'm 27. And I live in San Francisco. The night everything changed didn't start out dramatic. It started with a casserole. I was stirring cheese into noodles when my phone started buzzing across the counter. It was my Mom Linda? Of course. If you told me 5 years ago that a single phone call could detonate a whole decade of devotion, I would have laughed. But that night, as the pasta hissed on the stove, my life quietly hit a reset button I didn't know existed. When I answered, she didn't even say hi. She just went straight into her favorite tone, wary martyr mixed with an accusation. Joanna, the roof's leaking again. Your father says the contractor wants a deposit. 1,200. Can you handle it this week? No? How are you? No, did you eat? Just straight business. And something inside me, tiny but sharp, flinched. I said, let me check. What I really meant was, here we go again. I could see the drop down in my online bank account in my mind before I even opened the laptop. I wired the money within minutes like always and sent a short text. Done. No emoji. No exclamation point. I didn't have the energy to decorate my exhaustion. Her reply came back immediately. Thanks. We'd be lost without you. I stared at those words for a long time, until they twisted into something bitter. We'd be lost without you. I used to read that as affection. That night, for the first time, I realized it was dependence disguised as gratitude. But you can't understand why that hit so hard until you understand Franklin, the small town where I grew up. On paper, it looks simple: factories, farms, a main street that shuts down at 6 p.m., and gossip that travels faster than thought. But for me, Franklin was a constant whisper of not enough. Not enough money, not enough love, not enough warmth in the house when winter came creeping under the doors. Dad worked at a warehouse. He was the kind of man who believed silence meant strength. He came home smelling of oil and fatigue, sank into his chair, and didn't speak until dinner. Mom worked part-time at the diner, and she carried her tired like it was jewelry. She wanted everyone to see how heavy it was on her. And then there was Madison, 4 years younger, full of charm she didn't even have to earn. She could blink and the world forgave her. I used to joke that she came out of the womb with a spotlight over her head. Growing up, I was the fixer. I balanced their moods like checkbooks, always making sure the numbers added up. If Dad was short on hours that week, I cut more coupons. If Mom was crying over another notice with red letters, I hid them under the junk mail so Madison wouldn't see. I told myself it was love. Maybe it was child version love, the kind that believes sacrifice is the price of belonging. When I got my first computer, it felt like escape. Coding made sense in a world that didn't. A problem, a solution. Logic where emotions failed. I built my future line by line, while the ceiling dripped and the furnace coughed. You're obsessed, Dad would say, shaking his head at my homework spread across the table. All that studying isn't real life, but it was my real life, the only one I could build with my own hands. By the time I left for San Francisco, I thought I was breaking free. I had a scholarship, an apartment with chipped tiles and optimism, and a heart bursting with promises. Don't worry, Mom, I said at the airport. I'll take care of you guys. I'll make it easier, she smiled, that sad little smile of hers. You already do, sweetheart. And she was right. I just didn't realize how much. Fast forward a few years, and there I was, Joanna, software engineer, reliable breadwinner, emotional lifeline of a family who never sent postcards but always sent bills every month like clockwork. Money left my account for theirs, mortgage, repairs, Madison's mysterious emergencies. If I ever hesitated, they'd remind me, you know how grateful we are, Joe. Then pivot back to another request before the week ended. Madison turned her charm into a small online boutique, M-style. She said she just needed seed money to get off the ground. $30,000 later, the tiny store opened on Main Street. Decorated with pink walls and ambition, I flew home for the ribbon cutting. Stood in a corner while everyone toasted to young entrepreneurship. My sister smiled for cameras, calling herself self-made. My parents nodded proudly, knowing the checks were from me. I told myself it didn't matter who got credit. What mattered was family stability. But deep down, A quiet resentment was forming roots. The first crack appeared when Madison called me crying one night. The website crashed. I think I lost everything. I stayed up all night coding, fixing her mess remotely, while she slept. The next day, she posted, "Crisis averted, guess I'm not just a pretty face." No mention of me, not even a text. That's when I started to notice how invisible I'd become. A few months later, Mom phoned again, this time about the dishwasher. "It's barely a year old," I said. "Oh, you know how things are around here." She sighed, like the universe was personally picking on her. "If you could send something soon, that'd help a lot." I looked around my apartment, at my thrift store dishes and water-stained ceiling, and something inside whispered, "Who's helping you, Joanna?" Still, I paid it, because that's what I did. That's who I was until Thanksgiving last year. It had been 3 years since my last visit. I almost didn't go. Something told me the air in that house would suffocate me, but duty is powerful, and guilt is its cruelest twin. When I arrived, even the house looked different, painted, fixed, warm, the version of home I used to dream about, funded entirely by my exhaustion. Madison greeted me like I was an old coworker, not her sister. "Hey, Joe, wow, you look so corporate these days." She grinned. I smiled tightly. "And you look thriving." "Always," she said. Dinner felt like a play I'd already seen too many times. Praise for Madison's business mind, laughter about Dad's semi-retirement. My own updates hung in the air like static nobody tuned into. The longer I sat there, the more I realized my success wasn't something they celebrated. It was something they tolerated. Then, halfway through dessert, Madison mentioned a tiny setback. Her supplier wanted a bigger order for the holiday season, but she needed quick cash. "Only $5,000, she said casually. Eating pie like we were in a board meeting. Dad chimed in, "Your sister wouldn't ask if it wasn't important." I froze. "Dad, I sent her money last month." He nodded. "Yeah, that was for her business loan. This is for expansion." I laughed. Short and sharp. "Expansion? You mean more clothes she can't sell?" The whole table went silent. Mom's face turned to stone. "Joanna," she snapped, "there's no need to be cruel." "I'm not being cruel," I said, my voice trembling. "I'm being honest. I've been floating this family for years and you chose to." Dad cut me off. "I did. But you act like it's your right." He slammed his fork down. "Enough. We don't need your attitude. Or your money, if that's how you feel." It stung like a physical wound. My mother nodded, muttering, "Maybe it's time you stopped playing savior. We're fine." And Madison, my baby sister, the girl I'd protected my whole life, looked up from her plate and said it like it cost her nothing. "Yeah, Joe, you make everything about you. We don't need all your drama." Something inside me shattered, not loudly, not dramatically, but clean, like glass underfoot. I put my napkin on the table. "Okay," I said quietly. "Got it." I left before anyone could stop me. I drove to a motel outside town, the kind that smelled of detergent and old secrets. I sat on the bed and stared at the ceiling. Every memory of sacrifice played behind my eyes like a highlight reel. The checks, the late-night calls, the constant need. And then the words, "We don't need you." I didn't sleep. At dawn, I opened my laptop. Not to send, but to sever. I started with Madison's boutique. I was the guarantor on her lease. I emailed the landlord, politely announcing my withdrawal. Then I logged into my bank. I canceled the automatic transfers. Mortgage, utilities, business loan, one by one, like unplugging life support. You know that sound when you delete something important? That small click and pause right after. It's eerie how final it feels. By noon, I'd effectively erased their safety net. Mine, apparently, was the only one that ever existed. That night, while they were probably polishing leftovers, I booked a therapist. It was the first time I spent money on my own healing rather than their survival. The irony didn't escape me. I'd been programming my way through life, fixing other people's bugs, without ever debugging my own. The following week, I got the first message from Madison. "Hey, Joe, the shop's rent bounced. Can you check your bank?" Must be a glitch. I read it twice, then deleted it. A minute later came another one. This isn't funny. Call me. Then from Dad. What's going on with the mortgage transfer? And Mom. Ever predictable? Joanna, your father is very upset. Are you trying to hurt us? That line made me laugh, bitter and hollow. Hurt them? I thought. No, I was just finally refusing to hurt myself for them. Days turned into weeks. My voicemail filled up with apologies, demands, half-hearted guilt trips. I never answered. Instead, I used my evenings to build a life that felt like mine, painting classes, hikes, nights out where I didn't calculate guilt per drink. 3 months later, word reached me through a cousin. The house was sold. Madison moved in with a friend across town. My parents finally started paying their own bills. For the first time, they were truly independent, the thing they claimed to be that night at dinner. And me? Well, I bought plants. I know that sounds silly, but I'd never let myself before. Taking care of something that wanted light, not exhaustion, felt symbolic. Sometimes people mistake silence for cruelty. But silence can be a boundary, a line drawn with peace instead of anger. I don't check their social media anymore. I don't care if Madison posts motivational quotes about boss energy. What I do care about is the quiet hum of my own space. The coffee brewing just for me. The way my heartbeat doesn't race when the phone rings anymore. The truth is, freedom isn't fireworks. It's a slow exhale. It's the voice inside whispering, "You kept your promise, but now you can rest." I hope one day my family understands that I didn't walk away out of revenge. I walked away because love shouldn't always come with an invoice. So that's my story, the messy kind where the hero doesn't get applause, but she does get peace. And honestly, peace is the best plot twist I could have asked for. If you've ever been the one holding everyone else together while falling apart yourself, this one's for you. Don't wait for permission to choose yourself. Subscribe to Revenge Diary if you want more stories like this, stories of women who finally stop apologizing for their strength. And if you know someone stuck in that guilt loop, share this with them. Maybe it's time they stop setting themselves on fire to keep others warm.